Hello and welcome everybody. On this episode, I'm featuring the Do Art duo of two artists that are, well, one's from around the Rochelle area and the other one is not, but they met together at a college. And you're going to learn about that tonight. I hope. I'm going to ask them a lot of questions. Right now, they're in the other room teaching Jackson and Maura their lesson or their workshop that they give, at least a smaller version of that. What they give at the libraries and stuff. These guys are so talented. Not only have they created numerous comics, but they have one out right now that we're going to try to talk about on that. But what they started doing was going to different libraries and they give like art workshop seminar type things to kids. And I only saw a little bit right now out here with them, but the little bit I saw, they're incredible with the kids and get them very, interactive and working together and getting their brains flowing and talking about what art is to that person. And I'm excited to hear about more and then also ask the kids later what they think. So we're going to hear from them and see what you could do to get involved with these guys, because not only are they going to libraries, but they'll come to your party or your bar mitzvah or their wedding parties or something. I think that'd be a fun night. You can sit and hang out with a bunch of friends and have them come and they'll go over with different art projects with you guys and teach you how to do some type of drawing and explain all that to you. And there's no age limit, and you know what I mean? Like, if you're trying to have some fun, I would. I would have had them at our damn 40th birthday party if I knew about that. But anyway, we're going to be talking with Chet and also Jerry from Do Art Productions. Just here in a moment, I'm going to play our promotions like I always do, and then we're going to go in to the interview with Jerry and Chet from Do Art Productions. Check them out, doartproductions.org. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Jackson from Life with Jack. After this video, take a moment to scroll down to my videos, and don't you worry if you like them. More are coming soon. And subscribe, like, and ring the bell of notifications so you don't miss out on another good video.
Hey, you. Yeah, you over there. Do you have an idea, a podcast idea, something that would go great on this show that somebody should know about, that you or somebody that you know could tell us about? Send us an email at catchinupwithcarter@gmail.com. That's Catchin with no G in the middle. catchinupwithcarter@gmail.com. We want to know your ideas and we want to talk about them. Toodaloo. Okay, everybody, hello and welcome back. I have Chet Roush and I also have Jerry of Do Art Productions. Welcome. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. We've been having a busy week.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about something real quick. This is how I met Jerry. Me and my daughter, stepdaughter Maura, she's awesome. She's like my daughter. Anyway, so we're driving. We went to, I think she was cheerleading for a football game at Rochelle, down there by the rec center.
Because it was around that time.
Yeah. So we were driving or whatever, and we see these people in Halloween costumes at this garage yard sale type thing outside.
A chicken costume.
Yeah. So we're like, man, we're going to stop by. So we stopped by after the cheerleading and football game, and I ended up meeting Jerry, and he had all kinds of art that I didn't get to buy. He brought me some cool pieces today. And what just got done a little while ago is these two fellows came and they showed my kids, Jackson and Maura, how to draw different things. And they're so cool. But anyway, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Go ahead. Tell me about you guys.
Yeah, so we're Do Art Productions. It was kind of been like a roller coaster ride almost ever since that day that you saw the dancing chicken costume.
When was that exactly?
It was, I want to say September. Or like before October.
Okay.
So it was kind of diving into the
6 months or so.
Yeah, the Halloween season and everything. But you being one of the many people that kind of stopped by from the Rochelle area, that was what kind of gave me this, starting to see your interest. You asked a lot of questions. You're like, wow, this stuff is really cool and stuff like that. So as an artist, that was kind of like a little boost of confidence. Okay. It was like, all right, so people are actually paying attention when I do show it to them. And basically from that day, I went to the library. I went to the museum in Rochelle. So I donated a piece of my work there. It's hanging up over there in the Rochelle artist wall they have over there.
At the library?
At the museum.
At the museum, though.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to see that because we just went in there, me and Jackson, not long ago. He did a little video of that place, too. I think it's a neat little museum. But go ahead.
Yeah.
I had to see that. How long ago was that? You just recently did it?
When
About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, so because we both went in, it was like on a Sunday. Because I also did a commission for a lady that works there, so it was kind of it was like I went to the museum. I showed them my art. They were like, "Yeah, we really want to work with you. If you donate it, we'll hang it up on the Rochelle thing and stuff like that." So I was like, "All right, I hear you. I'm gonna go get one." So over there, you'll see it's like our Legend series, but it's of Lauryn Hill.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's Miss Lauryn Hill hanging up. Yeah, so it's Miss Lauryn Hill hanging up at the Rochelle Museum. You know, that sentence alone is a very cool sentence. Like, you know, so it's not something that you expect. But through doing that, one of the workers hit me up for a commission. So I just completed that commission, and then I went to the library. I stopped by the library. I was like, "Hey, where do our productions? We've been kind of thinking of doing some outreach to kind of get people to do art. Obviously, it's all about the process. That's why it's the name Do Art. It's not just art, it's the process of it.
Right.
So we were kind of telling them that, and they were like, "Oh, that sounds really cool. You guys do comics. We want you to meet the GACME Club in Rochelle." So at the high school, it's like graphic novels, anime, comics, manga, and the E was
esports.
Esports.
I've never heard of that. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, so at the high school, they have that.
So you went there?
They came to the library.
Oh,
yeah. So recently at the library, they didn't have a lot of comics, and
that's what made it in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
So keep talking about it.
I came by and I kind of told them about like the different suggestions I had for their comic collection. Like, hey, there's this collection called Buddha by Osamu Tezuka. I think you guys should get that. There's this collection called Adolf by Osamu Tezuka. I think you should get that. There's this whole series called Promethea by Alan Moore. I think you should get that. There's From Hell by Alan Moore. I think you should get that.
Watchmen. You were telling the library.
Yeah, I gave them a whole list. Cool I gave them this list.
And they're even like the fact they're listening to this. That's right. So see what they do, yeah.
So she was trying to get more of an outreach to the teenagers and stuff like that. So I gave them this whole list, a lot of the titles I gave, plus it was maybe like 50 more titles. I came back to the library and they had every one.
No way.
Yeah, so they got every one of those. They got all of the Prometheus by Alan Moore. They got all of the Tezukas. I was just telling Jackson that they have the Adolf series because it's about World War II.
I heard you a little bit.
Yeah, because it's about 3 different people named Adolf. One of them is Adolf Hitler, and it's like all of their different perspectives through World War II. Period, right? Yep, like this kid grows up in Japan during World War II, which is not necessarily always talked about. So we were kind of promoting that for a reason because everything that we promoted was not superheroes. You know, so the story of Buddha is not about Super Buddha. Right. It's the story about Buddha done in a cartoony way that's relatable to kids. Yeah. And Tezuka, his nickname is the god of manga. So, you know, he does have some weight as far as his presence in comics, but it's not about that traditional superhero. I got bit by a radioactive hippopotamus and then now I'm doing this thing. No, it's more like it's about this historical context. It's talking about these very moral and very fun ideas, but about a bigger scope on life. So we tried to highlight every one of those comics. So I didn't highlight any Superman comics, for instance. I didn't say go buy some more Batman comics because they had enough of those. Right. But I tried to promote, like, for instance, Mouse. It's like a very well-known comic. Have you ever heard of it?
No, but I'm not good at comics. But I'm going to try to be.
We go to librarians all the time, and they've never heard of this. But it's a comic made by Art Spiegelman, and it's about World War II, about like the Jews surviving the Nazis.
Oh, Jack will like that.
Yeah, and the Jews are mice, and the Germans are cats. So not only does it talk about what's going on, but it talks about Art Spiegelman's life because his dad survived the Holocaust.
Yeah, and so like the frame of the story is these stories that his dad, Art Spiegelman, the actual author, his dad is telling him these as he's like, his wife is making dinner and they're like sitting there having dinner. He's telling all these stories about how he
in the comic that's
the Holocaust.
That's cool.
And then, but also it is this fascinating like tension between the fact that he's a Holocaust survivor, but also his relationship with his son. It's just like, man, this guy's survived the Holocaust. Man, he is just like a pain in the ass.
And they mentioned that he's a comic, like, he's a Holocaust survivor who has a comic as a son. So it's like they talk about all of this as well as the stories.
Yeah, and the stories of how he where he was in Poland when everything kind of started off, and really the story of how he survives, basically.
That's so tough.
Because we've been using this as like a framework of explaining it, because it's a perfect example of like what we believe is the potential of comics, like talking about historical context, talking about, these grander ideas, like having a father dealing with his son, you know what I mean? Like that's not necessarily a traditional maybe plot line.
Right.
But these ones kind of give you all of that historical context. You can actually see the dates. You know what I mean? You can see what Auschwitz was, or as well as the other. So it's a comic that has all of this. And one of the things that we've been showing is that information retention when you read comics it resonates longer than when you read a book.
Really?
So
I didn't know that.
So when you read a comic,
why is that? Just because it's less worded? Is that why then, or is it
dual visualization and images? Because when you have the visualization,
it makes complete sense.
Yeah. So, for instance, at the Rochelle workshop, right? Like before it all started, it was like a single father with his daughter that showed up, and they're like, "Oh, we've been looking to kind of do creative things together." He was a teacher at Rochelle.
Oh.
Yeah, Mr. Worthington. I don't know. I'm not sure if he's in middle school or not, but he was telling me, he's like, "Man, I read this book in the 4th grade about Abraham Lincoln. It was a graphic novel." And I remember more from that graphic novel than I do from every other class and every other book that I read about Abraham Lincoln since.
Damn, that's so cool that you remember that though.
Yeah, and he was telling me that, and it's a perfect example of kind of the potential that comics do have as far as on the educational aspect, because you can make a story about whether it be Abraham Lincoln or whether it be
anything.
Whether any part in American history,
right,
or even any part in cultural history, or like parts about Ernest Hemingway you can learn about, and you can do all of this visually while having these words as well that kind of give you that stimulation. And it's shown that for almost obvious reasons that kids get stimulated by this visual word combination, so much so that they're willing to seek it out. And that's one of the phrases that I heard just recently. It's like a perfect one. It's like, learn to love reading by reading what you love.
Yeah.
And comics is usually a great way into that. Obviously, you have some people that don't necessarily branch off into reading, world literature or something, but it does give you reading, and it does give you away from electronic devices or whatever like that. Right. So it's like there's that potential, as well as imagine if you were reading comics that were entertaining but teaching you about Leonardo da Vinci, or teaching you about Cellini.
Yeah.
Or
I can, it's a little different, but one thing I realized, everybody, when that Rock Band came out and Guitar Hero came out, I was like, all these kids now, they might not really pick up on that music, but because they had to play it, then they ended up liking it, and it's like bringing back the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s music, because here you are having these young kids reliving it, and I was like, this is genius. You know what I mean? And I'm glad, because, like I said, now those people now know a lot of music they wouldn't have known, most likely, because they tuned it out.
Right, and they made it in that playful aspect.
So comics, I get it.
That's what we're trying to do with, like, Leonardo Kart.
Yeah.
Like, how would you explain Leonardo Kart?
Oh, it's, so Mario Kart, so Mario Kart racing.
Yeah, I love
so you do that, except with Renaissance painters like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, and so you have all these painters going through this Mario Kart world and like throwing shells at each other.
This would be a comic.
Yeah, we made it. I've have it posted, for instance, the rough draft on Instagram.
Okay, so I want to get to that real quick because we haven't talked much. Explain who you two are, though, and how you got started. Because when I met you weren't doing what you're doing here at the libraries, but you told me you already had a comic. So you already have comics that you wrote then, and then explain that.
Well, we co-wrote. It's like, it's hard to say co-wrote because it's not like we sat down with pens and like, all right, we're going to write the comics that we write. Because the fun part about comics is really why we kind of started rolling with this, because you get to sit at a table and you get to be like, man, what if it was like this hillbilly samurai? Right? And you're like, that would be pretty funny. And then it's like, well, what if he has to face Hitler in Checkers? You're like, all right, you know what I mean? Where it's like, it's not like we're sitting down trying to write this, but it was like that fun process.
Ad-libbing,
Yeah, this dynamic thing where you're around a table, and then obviously after that we write it down and we worked it out. But everything is co-created like that.
Yeah, or we have a character. He is he's like a Vietnam War veteran, just like living out in the desert. His name is Cowboy Dan, which is based off of a Modest Mouse song. Or
nice. I'll have to check out the song because I like them. That Flow Down song, I just played it yesterday.
Yeah, because in the song he takes his rifle in the sky and says, "God, if I have to die, you will have to die." Because this idea is just mad at God. He's a drunk, angry man. And so we're trying to think, okay, so he has a pet. He has to have a pet. What was his pet? Iguana. Yeah, iguana. What do we call the iguana? What if it was something like Ronald Reagan?
Okay, I like that, man. That's cool ad-libbing. I like that.
Yeah, but just the way that these little almost micro decisions, like it takes maybe 10 seconds to just all of a sudden think of something that you just kind of chuckle at. Yeah. And then that becomes like the feature of the story.
Yeah, I know it's going to be starting to seem tangenting right now because there's like how we do things, what we do, how we started. But for instance, to even go into ad-libbing, how we even started comics was like, we were messing with the idea. We've always been messing with it. We're both writers, and he actually graduated from Loyola as a creative writing major.
Nice.
So we did a lot of short stories. We're making, you ever heard of zines or zines?
Probably.
It's like a cardboard little book that people make on their own, and then they can hand them out at festivals and stuff like that.
No, I don't know. I have to look it up.
So we made poetry ones like that. We made short stories ones. He wrote like this crazy big novel with 2 of them. So we were kind of making stuff like that. And then, you obviously want to make a picture of your character in your novel. So it's like started with adding a picture, and then it started with adding a picture doing something. And then next thing you know, we're like, man, we got to bite the bullet and just make comics. So then we're messing with the idea. Then all of a sudden he was like, what if we told the story of Wei Nung as cats? And now Wei Nung is known as like the founder of Zen Buddhism in China.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it's even funnier.
So it's like,
in fact, his name was Wayne at first.
And so it's Wei Nung is this, it's an Oriental name, but it's like we tell about the beginning of Zen Buddhism essentially through the eyes of some feline monks running around in the the Chinese side.
That's so sick.
And that's how it started.
Yeah. So where is it at now then? Your comic ideas. You already have some that have been printed on paper. I mean, you can buy a comic somewhere or no?
We have our first ones coming in this week, our Bubba Samurai.
Can I ask you what something like that run to? Like if somebody wants to make a comic, what's it cost to do something like that?
Oh, well, it's like it depends a lot on the shipping, the like amount of pages, because when you print any sort of comic or an image book like that, it tends to be having to be 4 pages or numbers of 4, so 16, 20 or something like that. So it all depends on the size. So sometimes it can be like $2 or $3 of an issue, or up to $7 to $8 to $10 sometimes dollars an issue to print.
Wow.
Yeah, so it can get out of hand pretty quickly.
And then that would obviously adjust how much you
have to charge it.
Right?
Yeah, but we didn't really get into that right away as much as we started just making comics on our own without having to print them. We were just like, man, let's just make Wei Nung.
Really the emphasis, even back when we were just making like these zines, was that we don't necessarily want to wait for a publisher to say that we can put this in someone else's hands. I want to put this in somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
And so
skip the middleman. I understand.
And especially that just leads to comics so much because it's just words and pictures. It adds that visual impact from having just words, which are very cool, but they're just words. And so adding more dimension to the story in that way.
How did you two meet?
Actually, we met in college. We met at Loyola University in Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah, and so it was crazy because there was no reason I should have gone to Loyola in Chicago. There was no reason I should have gone to that school in particular.
And there was absolutely no reason I should have been at that place either.
Really?
Yeah, I chased the girl there. I chased my high school sweetheart at the time. I was like, she went to Loyola. So I was like, all right, I gotta go to Loyola now. I mean, I have a pretty good grade, so I got in.
Nice.
But it was one of those things where
pretty good school.
It was one of those things where it's like I was not supposed to go there. I already went to college at Carthage. I wasn't supposed to go there, so I go to Loyola. He's not really supposed to go there. He goes, and the next thing we're roommates.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then it was this kind of gradual build up since then.
So both of you from here, Rochelle, though?
No, I am from Elgin, or I'm just west of Elgin.
So not too far away.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why, most people in the Loyola were from Illinois anyways, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, our other friends are from Geneva or from areas like that.
Right,
so
right.
We met a lot of those Illinoisans.
That's cool, though. I like it. So now, all right, so how many copies you're going to have printed, you said, and where can you get them?
Well, when it comes to, for instance, a specific comic is...
I mean, the one you have coming right now.
Right, like we have a small run coming right now because we're kind of getting used to the printers and stuff like that. But we have our big thing coming forward, which is Free Comic Book Day. So we're going to have our own issue, which kind of goes into trying to segue into that. But like, since meeting you, I reached out to libraries, right? And then I talked to them and got them to get new comics and stuff like this. So then when that was a positive at Rochelle, I was like, let's go to another library. So then I went to Creston, then I went to Ashton, then I went to Malta, then I went to Stillman Valley, Byron, Oregon, Dixon.
And you've done all those too, right?
So I started going, then we went to ones near Chicago, and all of them signed up.
My home library is in Hampshire. It's the Ella Johnson Memorial Library in Hampshire. Went to them.
Oh, okay.
And so then working, because I'm a little bit more close to the Fox River, and so you have a little bit larger towns in there. And so I was kind of like working by my end, he's working by his end.
That's genius. So that's a good way of networking and getting two different areas.
Yeah.
That's smart. You're
so it was
really
like
good.
It was like this thing that came, I got all that kind of positive response from the garage sale, and it built up to like, next thing I know, I'm reaching out to the businesses. They're giving me a little bit more positive responses. Like, I'm hung up in custom embroidery at a Stutter Tattoo. I
haven't been there, but I want to go in.
Yeah, you'll see my monkeys. You'll see my monkeys on the back wall over there.
So
yeah, he's got our stickers and stuff in there. He's thinking about putting a lot more artwork on the back in there.
I need one of your pieces.
And then the leather shop in town.
They're like,
Don.
Yeah, I know him. He's got turtles when you walk in.
Yeah, I got a couple stuff over there. But all of that feedback kind of made me like, oh, let's like hit up some of these other libraries, and then we'll do workshops. Like, that wasn't necessarily our plan when we met at Loyola. We're writers, and we're gonna like, all right, now we're just gonna become artists and do art workshops. Like, that was nowhere down the line. It was this weird kind of turning, just kind of digging with creativity, because for so long we've always been into getting other people to do art.
Right.
Like, everyone can do art. Like, I didn't even start doing anything drawing wise, visually wise. I didn't do it until I was 24. And I didn't take it serious, like learn to draw till I was 27, and I'm 32 now.
No kidding.
So it's like, I didn't pick it up till late, and if I can do what I'm doing, you don't have to be young, or you don't have to be whatever, because my aunt, Susie, I got her to do a painting at 50, and she was at the garage sale.
Yeah.
She sold 4 or 5 paintings at that garage sale.
Was she the one dressed as a chicken?
No. That was another one.
Okay.
She was dressed as something else for a little bit, because everyone had to do their marketing turn.
Oh, what else was
But she didn't paint until she was 50.
And now she probably loves it.
Yeah, well, if you start talking about it, you'll never get her to be quiet. Like, she's a storyteller anyway, so she's got it in her art stories now.
Yeah.
But she sold 4 or 5 at that garage sale.
Yeah,
so it's like
good. That boosted her ego too, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it just shows you that, you can create something that someone else is gonna want, like on their wall. It doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter, where you're coming from, as long as you tap into creativity. So that's what we've been pushing that since, like, we've been in Chicago, we were pushing that. Yeah. We were writing do art on sidewalks in chalk. Yeah. We would wake up, for one of our, hobbies, we would, at 10 p.m. at night, just go around chalking Chicago, writing do art.
That's so cool.
Yeah, just so, like, to be those invisible people to be like trying to tell people do art. Or we would quote, famous writers, and we would write it on the sidewalk.
I like that. One of the interviews I did was with Rochelle Rocks, which is that Kindness Rocks movement, or there's another name.
Yeah.
Kindness Initiative or something. And there was I explained about that, something so small, right? We were having like kind of a shitty day. I can't remember what happened, but we got bills or something. We didn't have money. We went on a walk and we saw one of those rocks, and for some reason that just broke my mood.
Yeah,
something so small. It was like a
right.
It was just like, be kind, and it was just pretty. And I was like, right, man, you're right. You know what, man? Stop it. It's something so small. So seeing that is a way of like, you know what? Yeah, I got to do some art. My fiance and the kids want to do art all the time. I do too. We have coloring books, and we have paint, and we have glitter, and we have crafts, and there's like endless amount of sensory stuff that's all considered art too. And I love it all. Like the epoxy thing, that's art. The stickers,
Yeah.
there's so many types
Because
of art.
that's actually a perfect segue into talking like that stone, for instance, right? Like that you saw and the mood you were in,
Yep.
right? And then that change, not the new mood, but that changing of moods. There was a process there that you were in a bad mood, and then you're like, it broke all that down.
Something so small.
Yeah, but that process is what we highlight as art.
Yeah.
Like that is art. Like that aspect of being able to initiate some sort of change, or maybe to inspire some sort of different behavior, or maybe to even chemically break down your mood differently. Because what happened was your chemicals changed when you saw that. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like, oh, now I'm happy. It's like, no, we saw that Be Kind stone. And it changed the chemicals in your brain. It physically changed that. And that aspect is what we try to promote as art. It's like that process is art. The inspiration is art. Some kid at a workshop said that the Mona Lisa still inspires him, right? And Leonardo da Vinci's been dead for hundreds of years. And he's still reaching out to people and inspiring them. So it's like, how can you say that art ever dies? You know what I mean? Like that inspiration lives on long before. And then there was hundreds and thousands of years of inspiration before Leonardo da Vinci. There was Roman painters, Greek painters that all inspired Leonardo da Vinci. There was cavemen painting on the wall that inspired Leonardo da Vinci to paint the Mona Lisa, where it's nothing, it never ends.
And that's so cool.
And that's what we try to highlight with art, because the other aspect of it is it can give you, well, one, we talk about, it gives you identity, it gives you like patience, it gives you confidence, it gives you mental and emotional therapy. So we highlight that, but we're trying to show, you know what I mean, that you can find much more, you can find meaning in art, you can find value in art, you can find the answers to the deepest life questions in art, you can find the meaning of life in art, you can find the meaning of love in art, you can find all of that in art as long as you go looking for it in art.
There's so much.
Yeah, so that's what we try to promote. So it's like when you're doing crafts with your kids, and when you're doing crafts with someone that you care about, like you're having a moment with them, that moment is going to be remembered much longer than the work of art that you made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that moment is a work of art.
But it also makes that like 10 times more important. You know what I mean? Like when you make it together, a bracelet, instead of buying it at Kohl's or wherever the hell, you know what I mean? Anything else, it's just cool because it's so unique, because you just did it.
I forget who says it, and then I'll let you say what you're saying, but it's like, one, my favorite philosopher is Alan Watts. And if you've never heard of Alan Watts, please do yourself a favor and go listen to him, because he is amazing. Okay. But one of the things he talks about is like, we work so hard, right, to get all these things, right, and we buy like these dead things. We buy these plastic bottles made by people who just hated making plastic bottles. We buy things from Kohl's, t-shirts from Kohl's made by people who hated making that t-shirt. You know what I mean? But you can also go out and buy things that people loved making, and it taps into your subconscious. Like when you buy a work of art, you know that the artist made that. So when you hang it on your wall, you have that, it's transforming, something within you as well. It's like tapping your subconscious. Whereas when you buy that poster of the Disney movie at Walmart and you hang it on there, there's this sense of not that interaction or that transaction the same. So it's not necessarily affecting you in that way. Where it's like, buy creative things, buy the things that are not made by people who hated making that thing.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Let me go back here about the Free Comic Day. When is that and where is that?
Free Comic Day is
May 5th.
May 6th.
May 6th.
On the Saturday.
Okay.
Where is that going to be?
Well, it's a national thing.
Yeah.
Because they do it at libraries, they do it at comic book stores. DC and Marvel have theirs coming out as well. Everyone does things on Free Comic Day.
But you're saying you're going to have some of your stuff going out. So
yeah,
Go ahead.
So since we were doing all these workshops, we started doing 10 for free. The first 10 to sign up, we got free. So we got Paw Paw, Oregon, signed up for free. Dixon, Rochelle signed up for free. Cortland, Shabana. So we hit our 10 quickly. Marengo.
Yeah.
So, and Harvard, so even up north. So we hit the 10 quickly. Now we're at how many do you think we're doing?
Oh man, at least.
It's 24, 25.
Man,
right?
That's good.
So now on Free Comic Book Day, we're going to be touring. So I'm going to be at Paw Paw Middle School on the 5th before.
What is it? A Saturday?
On a Friday is the 5th.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be at Pop-Up Middle School talking to them about comics, talking to them the potential and education of comics and stuff like that. And then I'm gonna be at the Pawpaw Library that day. And then I'm going to Elburn that night.
Okay.
And then the next morning I'm going to Franklin Grove. We're going to Dixon. We're going to Hampshire. And then we're going to one other one. Marquette Heights is thinking about it. And then there's someone else Oregon signed up earlier in the week.
That is so cool. I'm looking for something because you said Franklin Grove, right?
Yeah.
I was at this garage sale and I found this Franklin Grove bank. And I was just like, you know what? This is kind of cool.
It's an
so
awesome
it. I got it for like a little piece for the studio.
Yeah.
Cool. But I think it is a neat little town.
Have you ever been over there?
Yes.
Because they have a giant library.
I haven't been there, but I saw it. And there's something that would intrigue Jack, right? War related, maybe? Is the building war related, or
no? They have something out front like that. I'm pretty sure. No, at the Franklin Grove Library.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of a different place. But there's something that also has a military reference to.
Right.
I can't remember which one. But go ahead.
But they have a giant projection room.
I believe
Elburn does too.
Well, because when you think about the crazy million, think about how many of these helicopters the U.S. military built.
Yeah.
And just and now they're just gotta do something with them.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I found out about some stuff. I didn't know that they can reactivate that in time of crisis.
Really?
So, my brother was telling me about that those cannons and things with parts can be used, and there is somebody that can be able to use. Obviously, not the ones that are cemented, but there's some that are not. I don't know.
Because at the end of the day, it's like the technology itself is not. Oh yeah, we just have to figure out how to use this again.
Right.
So then we're on Free Comic Day, we're bouncing around nonstop, and then now our goal is basically to just keep on expanding and hitting as many workshops. You gave us the brilliant idea.
Yes. I was gonna say that. I told these guys they got to do birthday parties because there's some people we watch on YouTube. The kids watch these people. They're Ukrainian. These two kids. They're 8 and 11 or something.
Yeah.
Diana and Roma. And every birthday party video they do, they have some type of arts and craft, a painting.
Right.
They made sand things with different art. It was all kinds of things they've done. Cool balloon stuff too. But anyway, I was like, well, shoot, you should do that for birthday parties.
Right.
Because I would do that for kids. Hell yeah.
Because we didn't even think of that, and we've been doing the workshops, reaching out to park districts and stuff like that. And then the libraries have just been, because there is so many libraries, and there's so many of these small towns in Illinois that are kind of they don't have a lot of programmers that reach out to them. They have 1,200 population, Franklin Grove. Not many people are stopping by Franklin Grove and telling them, hey, we're going to do an art program for you. So that's where we kind of saw a lot of these communities after the pandemic. They needed that bridge, they needed something to kind of outreach, but yet at the same time they wanted to bring people in and all of this aspects. And I think we just kind of came around at a perfect time where, we just kind of went through a tumultuous couple of bumpy years, and now people are just wanting to see some bright things. They want to see, that creativity or the art, or people talking that positivity of what you can find in it.
Yeah, it seems like people really see the value of an in-person interaction.
Absolutely.
The in-person thing is a very perfect way of highlighting it.
Absolutely. I can see that.
Because it's very few people are asking about online interaction, but it's now that, we're thawing back out and able to have these programs, ever since the shutdown, a lot of the people who did do this, who did went around and kind of talk to people, they had to stop. So they went on and changed the routine, and so they're not doing it anymore. So, we weren't necessarily doing this before, and then now we kind of stumbled into this idea, and we're really good at it. So it just kind of kept going with it.
Well, I just thought of 3 more ideas real quick, so I'm going to give them to you for free. Okay, here's 3 more ideas that you can expand on. First off, I remember my Nana lived in this high-rise downtown in Rockford, Luther Center, and they would have different people come in and do different things. Yes, at an elderly complex. So there's obviously ones that pay higher and some that are paid lower. But you could go with that one avenue. Another way is getting into places and combine a paint and sip. So instead it'd be a comic and sip instead. Yeah. But bars and places, people that are 30 and over.
Enormously fun.
Yeah.
30 and over. Or any
creating a comic creating a comic and sip.
Because actually I was telling this librarian the other day where it's once adults have permission to be the silly people that, you know, is buried underneath all of their adultness. Mm-hmm. You do get some really interesting,
especially
results.
You know, when they're sipping along, they kind of promote that interaction, or because one of the fun things that we do at our workshops is like a pose drawing. And
a pose drawing?
Yeah, so when, like, for instance, you're making a comic and you have to have your character, you know, maybe from a weird even angle, but you have to see the sword looking at you, or you have to have them coming at a weird animated dynamic pose. And
that's cool.
When you're online, you can't necessarily just find, hey, I need some guy running off of a building holding a sword and catching something in his left hand or something like that. So you have to, like, sometimes
his gun's falling out of his mouth. So.
Yeah, so sometimes obviously I can't do all of that, but I'll take a picture of myself doing a pose, and that's how I kind of create my character to do the pose. So one of the things at the workshop is we kind of show them that process. So I get all the kids up there and I'm like, hey, let's see you do a funny dynamic pose. Now you're holding a sword. And then I draw them in a very sloppy way, but like 2 seconds, because pose drawing is all about being fast, to learn anatomy, to learn poses and stuff like that. But, you know, we'll give them a marker and be like, what do you imagine this marker is? You know, so obviously I usually, because I'm trying to get them to be a hero, say sword. But at the last workshop, they were like,
at the one in Hampshire, they decided, one of the kids said, oh, a baguette.
A baguette. Yeah, that's what you were telling the kids that out there. That's funny. I like that.
So, and they all kind of like latched onto it. Like, yeah, draw SpongeBob with a baguette.
And then they were like, draw our character, Senorita Earthquake. How should I draw her? Oh, with star eyes. Okay, what does she have in her hand? A baguette.
That's funny. That's cool.
They
were obsessed with baguette that day.
Yeah, I heard the word baguette maybe twice the year before. And then at that moment, in a couple of seconds, it was every kid had said it almost.
That's funny. That's funny. Okay, so what exactly all do you do, Chet? Because I want to have you talk a little bit more too about yourself, because you do the internet side of it too, your website and everything, right?
Yeah. So I'm the one that kind of maintains the website as we've been growing that out, just posting comics and blogs and different things. And one of the things that we were really excited about when we started running was it's called our testimonials page. And so the way that works is people will send email and DM us little statements about what art means to them and what they believe about the importance of art. And so we would post that on on our website in these blurbs so you can see like how different people view art and how different people view its importance and like what it means to them.
That's cool.
Yeah, different artists too, like a variety. Like, it's not necessarily just visual art, but you kind of see like some people kind of stumbled into it. And kind of seeing how, obviously a lot of them were like, oh, it helped me in bad times, or it helped me, I didn't expect to be a cartoonist, but now that gave me the identity of a cartoonist.
Yeah.
But little different things like that.
That's what's up. I like that. I'm telling you, I told you guys, my mom was an artist in a lot of different ways. My brother's an artist. The kids are artists. And there's so many forms of art when you look around. I love it. Completely. So,
because what was it at the Martini Room? Remember, she was telling us her art. She was like,
no, it was cooking.
Yeah,
actually, yeah. And so she was, and
definitely a form of art.
She
many ways
would cook food and take pictures of this, and so talking about the artistic aspects of that, and so like, even things outside, say music, painting, writing, like there's definitely the attitude you take to it is what makes it artistic.
Yeah,
because she was showing like tofu with like crazy coloring. Like, made tofu look good.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I love plating food. It's so cool. Definitely. There's a lot of different cool things.
Yeah, because a lot of what I do with the comic side is coloring. And so usually he will draw it and then I'll add the color. And so you start to see like the rules of like contrast and how you have to make this, bring this forward and take that back.
I like it. That's such a cool story.
Yeah.
Well, so what's your next gig or show you got coming up? Today, let's see, it's going to be Monday when this is posted.
Yeah.
So when is your next?
On Tuesday. Actually, we're in Shabana.
Okay, tomorrow then. Shabana. Okay.
Tuesday.
It would be tomorrow.
Yeah. So
okay.
Tuesday at around, it's like 5 p.m. We're at Shabana. And we're doing, because they were one of the ones that signed up for the free comic book workshop, and we're going to be doing a workshop there. They're very excited about it. We unfortunately had to cancel the first one because the librarian got sick, but now she's feeling much better. And good. She's like what I love about especially some of these small libraries, like Pawpaw too, where it's like I love about Shabana is you get these librarians who just have a lot of energy. You know what I mean? So they're just like, they're doing a lot of the stuff themselves. Like we went to Marquette Heights, and what was she doing when we showed up? Like,
yeah, she was vacuuming.
Yeah,
yeah, but just like enormous amounts of excitement, especially from a lot of these librarians, just like super interested. Like, yeah, we want to make this a place where kids can come, make this a place where people in general can come and like enjoy the library.
Well, I think a lot of that has gone because of of course, electronics and all that screen time shit that's going on. But then the pandemic made it added on that because you were stuck at home and didn't want to go where people are. And now we're trying to bring people back out. And I know that librarian over there, and I connected with her right away when I met her when I first moved to town. She reminded me of my mom because my mom was a librarian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we connected right away, and I see her everywhere. And I don't know her name, glasses, but she's related to one of my friends I went to high school with. It's such a crazy story when I found out. Because they came and watched their granddaughter plays basketball against my stepdaughter that I was coaching. And then I was like, what? And I know him and her. It was just so crazy. But that librarian is so nice.
Yeah, because that's what I love.
Not Coleman. I had
Rochelle.
Yeah, Rochelle Library.
The Flag Township.
Yeah.
Well, it's a perfect example of what being in these small towns is like. Because, you know what I mean? We're always interacting, whether it be with sports, we're interacting with Oregon and Rochelle, we're interacting with Sterling, all these different places. But like we're all still like very small, you know what I mean? We're all from small towns. Like even people in Sterling, they're 17,000 or 24,000, but they still consider themselves a small town, obviously. And we're from Rochelle, it's 9,000. So we love interacting with these small town libraries where if we get that vibe of being like, oh yeah, we used to play you guys in sports, you know what I mean? Where it's like I go to, because I played basketball in high school. And you know, I was a starter on the Rochelle basketball squad.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of people in Rochelle, that's how they know me, is through the basketball program and stuff like that.
I did not know that.
So when I go to the other libraries, you know what I mean, I can. It's always like that bonding. Like Byron, we always played them. So we used to play you guys in basketball, and they usually are like, oh, well, whether they played on a sport team or whether it be they went to Byron. It's like all this small town camaraderie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's actually been our biggest hit. I think. I'm trying to even think of what's our biggest town of the workshop that we're doing is North Aurora, maybe.
Yeah,
that's pretty big.
But North Aurora though is still 24,000.
No, but what's funny, this is how it's really in the eye of the beholder, because we went to North Aurora and they said, small town library, and we're like, what do you mean small town?
Yeah, or
library?
Batavia, you know.
But once again, in their mind, the thing they're comparing themselves to is Chicago.
Right.
Compared to which they're a very small town.
Right.
And so it's all kind of relative, you might say.
Okay, so the next question is, how does somebody contact you guys to host something either at a school or at a library or at a private party or whatever? How does somebody
especially these birthday idea, like the more we talk about it, the more I like it, because it does kind of give us an aspect, because one at our workshops, the adults love our workshops as well, because the adults love tapping in their creativity, you know what I mean? So it's like they love that, and be able to do both at the same time, you know, they'll be able to share that experience with their kids. But so yeah, I'm really loving that idea. So you can get a hold of us. It's like doartproductions.org is our website.
doartproductions.org.
Yeah, Chet is killing it on the website. You know, you'll see.
Good, I'm gonna talk to you about that.
Yeah, you'll see all the different colors. It's a very, you know, it's a well done website.
I like it. I checked it out already. I really did. I did a little research on you guys. A little bit. Yeah. I looked at your Instagram. I don't know yours, but I'll definitely follow you after now.
Yeah, I'm a Do Art Disciple is my handle.
Okay.
Yeah, but the website, just because we've just been gathering more and more content, just kind of playing around with it. It's kind of like every day gets a little bit better, but yeah,
and you can hit the contact on there though.
Yeah,
and then it can just automatically write you. It'll send you an email or whatever.
Yeah, well, if you needed, the email is do.art.productions89@gmail.com, and on the website at doartproductions.org, you'll be able to see, you know, the contact. If you need to get a hold of us, it's usually fine through the email, and then yeah.
And then what about where will they be able to buy one of your comics?
That is in the process, but you will be able to buy it on Etsy when it gets out.
But you guys got to sign it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So far, it's like these first 50 run, because it's like our limited first, you know, edition, first Do Art production, first actual thing that we've had in our hands printed as well. So everyone is going to become signed.
Yeah.
So we're going to sign all 50 of the first ones for sure.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and we have the proof, and you'll be able to see it later. But it looks awesome because in that one we have Bubba Samurai. He's our samurai, our hillbilly samurai, based on my uncle that passed away, and it's Bubba Samurai versus Hitler, and to let Hitler try to survive, he lets him play him in checkers.
Okay. The
thing about Bubba Samurai is that he is a master's checkers player.
I can't wait.
His Uncle Bubba was in real life.
They didn't make a bench in Rochelle for him, did they?
No, but you saw that. You saw that bench. Yeah, you saw that bench that was at the thing, I think. But
I saw a bench somewhere that says Bubba.
I mean, the great thing about Bubba Samurai in general is that a name like Bubba.
No, so they didn't call your uncle that though.
They did.
Okay.
But what I mean is, like, especially being in these small towns, out here in these rural America, that name Bubba and the nickname Bubba gets thrown around a lot.
It does.
So one of the things that we like about Bubba Samurai is that it does kind of add that sort of
feel to
Duck Dynasty aesthetic. Yeah, you know what I mean? But at the same time, he does kind of bring a lot of these Zen-based truths. Okay. So to speak,
I'm gonna get what I want.
Yeah, so it has that.
I'm sold. I'm not playing.
It has that feeling where especially me being from a small town, like I kind of get that vibe with them. That's why I love being able to write that thing. But so we hope small town, population will definitely be able to see. Everyone loves a classic samurai story.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, and there's one where there's a monster that says his name is Professor Plotline. And he says, "No, Bubba Samurai, you can't just have these random adventures. You have to have a plotline." And Bubba Samurai just slices him apart with a sword. Like, no one tells me what to do.
I'm
so just like that aspect of like Zen wisdom, a whole bunch of like zany just shenanigans.
I'm excited to get it. I'm excited to get it, and I know the kids want to make one themselves. And I told you about that convention in DeKalb I went to. A lot of comic artists were there, and then there was a couple authors and a lot of cool shit, man. It was super dope. I met this couple that makes candles, but they attaches a story like a creepy haunted story that them two create together. And each candle's different. I was like, that's a cool idea. But anyway, cool. So then I started looking at Comic-Cons, and I'm definitely wanting to go to more. And then we went to this comic store, the Graham Cracker Comics.
Yeah.
It's called over in DeKalb.
Yep.
And that's where I bought like most of these.
Okay, I saw
Star Wars action figures. But if I was a millionaire, I would have the whole store.
Yeah.
I love so much in that store. Not just Star Wars. There's so many things that we like in this house that is science fiction or whatever. You know what I mean? Just so much good.
Right.
But
especially when you go to a comic book store, there's like a sensory overload,
Yeah, it really is too. And then I was mad. I bought some Star Wars ones online. I never got them. I got 4 of them. I never got them. The Gamorrean Guard, and there's a couple. Oh, I got a Tusken Raider that was dope. Never came. Anyway, I don't know. Okay, so this was Jerry and Chet, and they're at doartproduction.org. And you said Do Art Disciple?
Yeah, on Instagram.
And JMoff Do Art on Instagram. Yep. And he's on Etsy. Are you on Etsy too?
It's just more like the whole Do Art production thing. So it's because a lot of if not, majority of all of our creations is like this teamwork thing. So it's not like, it's not
right, but I'm saying, do you do some of the painting too?
Oh, yeah. So...
I want to see. Yeah, okay. I want to see who does what too. Then.
Well, because we for instance, we have our Legends series, and it's like a comic of famous cultural icons, whether it be Ernest Hemingway, Anne Sexton, Frida Kahlo, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Bob Marley. So Kurt Cobain. So we do this series where it's like I sketched out whether it be Kurt Cobain or I sketched him in this portrait-like kind of position, and then we digify it. So we kind of, whether it be me or him, we go in and paint it with the stylus, we paint it on digitally, and then we kind of add, whether it be, he recently finished a George Washington one.
Yeah, where it's like actually it has like this painting of the Capitol Rotundas on the top, and it has like the Matrix thing running around down the bottom.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then on the eye, it's
it's like it's like the Eye of Horus, like the Egyptian god, where it's like
yeah. So it's like
I saw so much.
But one of the things that digital really allows you to do is it's just this crazy sandbox you're just playing around and throwing things into.
Because it's like a superpower in so much of a way, where it's like you can do, obviously, if not hundreds, if not thousands of things that you can't do with a piece of paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can throw on layers. I can do different filters. I can mess with the color shading. I can use colors that I can't purchase in the store.
Right.
So it's like on the digital thing, we lean into it in a way where it's like it gives a superpower to our creativity. Because some people get shy away from digital comics, particularly, where it's like, it doesn't feel like it's this, or I like to stick to the traditional pen and paper, whatever it is. Everyone's got
I have to
their
look
thing.
and see what's the difference, because I don't know if I could tell you.
You really wouldn't be, well, because they usually tend to digify things that are traditional.
and usually, and especially in color, the way it's done, everything, like, colorists don't talk that way, because colorists is like, I'm doing this digitally. And we alluded to before we started talking, like, how the process sort of works. And so, like, industry-wise, so usually you have an artist, draws it, an inker inks it, so it's all like black and white. And so the colorist comes in, and then there's someone that's called a flatter. Usually you find someone on Craigslist or Fiverr or whatever for $10 a page, and then they go through and basically what's called color separation. So you break down all of like your head is one color and your body is one color,
right?
And the background is one color, and in crazy levels of detail. And the colorist just adds where the colors are going to be, shades it all.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm the one that takes care of like that half of it.
So first let's say
it's very, very important part of it.
Usually that's a team of, you have the sketcher, the writer, the inker,
right,
and then you have the person who puts in the words.
And actually, one of the things that really
and then you have the colorist. But we have two people doing this, and he's doing all of what he's doing.
Yeah. But actually, one of the things that amazes me about comics is that almost every other art, whether it's music, music's actually the other exception. Like painting or writing, it's usually like Ernest Hemingway wrote this novel, or Beethoven composed this symphony, or Picasso painted this painting. That the collaborative aspect is usually kind of in the background. Where, of course, Shakespeare had friends that he was joking around with, but he was writing these things.
Yeah.
Right. And then Picasso very famously had all these poets talking about these different theories while he was painting his paintings. But with comic books, it's very upfront, where it's like, I wrote this, and I added my art here, and I added my color here.
So, real quick, what exactly do you do, or what do you guarantee somebody when you do a
workshop?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. When you do a workshop at a library or anywhere that you're going to do it now, because you're going to branch out to after.
Right.
But what exactly do you do with? If you could explain it, like layman's terms. Yeah.
Right.
What exactly do you get in that?
Well, one of the first things, for instance, just to kind of discuss it again, is like why we would go with the name Do Art is because we're talking about the process of art as well. It's like, there's inspiration. We need that as art. I know I just went on a ranging about how everything is art, but we open up with kind of explaining that. Like, I'll ask, what is art from kids?
Right.
I'll ask, so we want to discuss, what art is actually, and obviously we'll get a lot of the regular answers, like, art is a drawing on a piece of paper, but we'll get answers like some of the answers that we got recently. What was the one at the last workshop was dunking into creativity.
Yeah.
And then we had art is when I watch Michael Jordan two-hand dunk. You know what I mean? But you get this, so we get this, and we encourage it. We encourage these more stranger answers because it allows you to kind of flex the definition of what we consider art and the perspective of art.
Right.
That's how we
opens
open
up your mind, right?
That's how we open the workshop, right?
Yeah.
But I also, because I just tried to do it, with Jackson here as well, but we're talking about breathe through your nose. So when we sit down to do art, we want to get into inspiration. We want to get into all that. And sometimes when your mind's cleared, whether it be in a bad mood or whether it be you just got off work or school or whatever it is, you got to clear it all out first. So at the beginning of the workshop, really quickly, I try to get them all to just breathe through their nose, like, all right,
they can't reset almost.
Yeah, and to teach them that skill as well, because one of the biggest skills for anything in life, whether it be you're too happy, you're too anxiety, you're too mad, you're too bored, you're too not bored, or whatever it is, you just breathe through your nose, and usually you can kind of, settle yourself, balance yourself, whether it be right before you do a podcast and you're nervous about how people are going to hear you. Yeah, or
I'm like, okay.
Exactly.
I do a few of those. Yeah, I literally do. I sit in here, and when I'm making a commercial, anything.
No, and encourage you to do it more.
Yeah, and actually, when they, at one point in one of the Buddhist sutras, they asked the Buddha, like, so why do you want to breathe in this way, when you're saying to meditate, the reason why we talk about breath specifically is because it's the one thing that you do both consciously and unconsciously at the same time. It's like, it's something that we're always doing, whether we think we're doing it or not, but it's also something that you could at any moment just decide, I'm going to...
Yeah.
Like that, because you have that control, it allows you to kind of hack your way into like your circulatory system, like your heart rate, and all these other things.
And this is the beginning of the word. Obviously, we don't go into
not that whole detail.
That detail, but we just kind of get into breathing through the nose to kind of bring in, hopefully they can kind of make that connection themselves, but to kind of just be able to clear the mind and open up to the muses or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so after we kind of get through that, which just only takes about 5 to 10 to sometimes 15 minutes, because kids will show the answers of art, you know what I mean?
And that makes it more fun.
Right, it's rewarding to see. Yeah. It's rewarding to see the interaction. It's rewarding to see, like, wow, you have a creative mind. Because I would have never thought of that answer. So it's like so awesome to see that. And that's just in the first 15 minutes where we get that participatory thing, we get that energy going, and then we kind of switch over to comics or whatever workshop it is. But we talk about the language of comics, because I don't know how many comics you have read yourself or stuff like that, but it's not necessarily something that they teach you in school to be like, all right, the panels go left to right, and then from the top panel you move down. This language of comics is not necessarily taught, or maybe that we teach about eyes and the language of eyes from, furrowed brows mean angry. We all know this language, but when you're making a comic,
body language is so, man, I read people so much. I can tell somebody real quick if I'm gonna like them or not within the first few minutes.
Mannerisms, as you're saying.
Just by looking how they're acting, like, ooh, I don't know, he's kind of shady. Just by a couple of, like, yes. But go ahead, keep talking.
But one of the things that's a perfect example is because that is this nonverbal communication. Right? Mm-hmm. Like if you have your arms crossed, you are showing across this, closed offness or this act of dominance. If you're doing body behavior, or if you're using your hand signal, you're trying to show this aspect of imaging or detailed description.
And that little thing can set the mood, like right away. You're like, all right, what's up with you?
But in comics,
it kills the mood in the whole room. Yeah.
In comics, it's necessary to know this, because in comics, if a character does a shoulder shrug, you need to know what a shoulder shrug means for that language for you to get what's going on in the story. So like body language in comic, or if they have like a hip stance, or they're in a dynamic hands on the hip pose.
It's like acting
in a larger sense.
Yeah.
This is consistently fascinates me, is that if you have a character with, say, angry eyebrows where they're furrowed like this, but they have the big wide smile, and every time you ask someone that, they're always saying, oh no, that's evil. It's like this whole big metaphysical construct based on the fact that you have angry eyes and you're smiling.
Right.
But we try to teach that language, and we try to not even teach it, because we don't have to teach it. It's to show it to them that they already know it. Like, what I mean? Everyone knows that the furrowed eyes means angry. Everyone kind of sees, when you see a furrowed eyes with a smile, every one of us do kind of get like, yeah, it does kind of look evil. You know what I mean? Like, we all get it. We don't have to explain it or teach it. We just get it. So that's kind of what we try to go through, is to show the reveal to them the language of comics, because they already know it, but they have to know it internally before they make it. Because how are you going to make a comic if you don't know that you need to have body language, or you need to have the eyes do this or that? So we go over this whole invisible aspect of the comics, what goes on behind the scene, and then the funnest part, well, I guess to the kids it could be the funnest part for them is the pose drawing,
right?
Which I already talked about. But at the latest one, for instance, I couldn't get this little girl to open up. She was kind of there with her older sister, wearing her coat the whole time. She was kind of messing around, but I couldn't get her to suggest anything, like to interact in that way. So I was like, all right, if I pose draw, like what should I act like to pose draw? Come on, give me something and you draw it. And she wouldn't. No. I was like, what if I pose like a chicken? You know what I mean? I was like, she was like, all right, and then she started nodding along. So then I'm sitting there posing like a chicken at this workshop, but she drew it. And then now, she draws me as a chicken, where it's like we start to move into this more interactive aspect of creative art, where
she use it, tap into your creativity, right?
But not only that, she made a bridge of she made a connection with me. Now she wants to take pictures with me afterwards. But
she'll never forget you now.
Exactly, and but art that's available for everyone in art. Like, that is what's there. And that's what we show at these workshops, or, whether it's not necessarily a show, but I have to do it, invisibly, like I did with her, where it's like, hey, whether Chet's going around, seeing someone not drawing, he goes, hey, he comes in and kicks in and draws some eyes for him. Because sometimes you'll get a kid who doesn't They're quiet and shy, which we're all. If you're an artist, you can totally relate. But yeah. So then Chet will go around.
The best one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, some of the amazing ones are because you will get some people who are following along with the exercise. But every so often you'll get something like actually Jackson drew this really cool picture of a tank.
Yeah, like or people drawing like pictures of themselves or pictures of like or me. They draw pictures of me.
Pictures of Jerry. Pictures of just like of dragons or monsters because that's what's on their brain. Where it's just like almost having a piece of paper and a pencil and like the permission to draw something. It just brings something out of people and it's really really fun to see.
Okay, man, I love this interview. This is really cool. And I really support this, and I really want you guys to send them an email if you're interested in having some at your party. Or there's a lot of different ways you can variate that. You could do it at a bachelorette party, whatever.
As long as
they come to you. And,
as long as they need some art done and created, some dynamic energy.
Anniversaries.
Why not? Dude, I'm telling you, I think that's a genius idea. I would have you guys come, like a Valentine's Day, have you guys come and do something Valentine's
Make a love comic.
Right.
Romance comic, yes.
That's unique. Something different. See? Bam. But okay, so again, it's doartproductions.org.
Yeah.
Send them an email, check out their website, check out their stuff on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, man. This has been a blast, bro.
Well, we're gonna do it again.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, for sure.
Thank you for spending an hour of your time with us. Now will you do yourself a favor? Check us out on Catching Up with Carter and Fam Show. Do yourself another favor and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Insta. Our dog's also up there, so you'll be doing yourself a third favor. And we'll see you next week. Toodles!